So, through introductions, it became clear that I work with some evaluation things, as does Ken with this coalition. And Christina and I both have backgrounds in public health. We have actually a number of things in common. And one of them is a background having a master's in public health at UConn. So we're both trained very similarly to look at these approaches to prevention activities. And today, and as always with ETC, we look at substance abuse from a systemic approach. So a while back, someone along the way had requested that we look at CADCA, oh my gosh, I always call it
7 strategies for community.
Well, I was thinking of what CADCA
Oh,
stood
Community
for.
Anti-Drug Coalitions of America.
Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. CADCA is just what comes out.
Yes.
National organization that supports substance abuse prevention coalitions and gives them strategies to make change in their communities. So they're looking at science and what works with local coalitions, because there's many hundreds and thousands of coalitions similar to ETC across the country. So Christina and I together put together this quick PowerPoint to just remind everyone what those seven strategies are and what ETC has done in the past within these 7 strategies, and maybe talking about what may happen in the future to fit along the way. Okay, so this is the mission of ETC here, which some of you may know and some of you may not. So looking at substance abuse locally and strategizing how to prevent. The next is SAMHSA, the Strategic Prevention Framework, which is a model that many funders, particularly the funder of this coalition, the Drug Free Communities Program, looks at and requires for coalitions to go through. And technically you start with assessment and then move forward, which is measuring, you're collecting data. Capacity building is bringing more people to the table, which is an ongoing activity, while also looking at different resources around the community that you can bring forward. Planning is kind of self-explanatory, but making sure whatever you're planning to implement ties back to your data and the resources you have available. Implementation is making things happen, and that's kind of ongoing. And evaluation, technically the last step, but happens in the beginning. Part of evaluation is making sure that you have a plan to measure what you're doing. And then always thinking about how you can sustain what you're doing and how what you're doing fits within the cultural context of your community, not just race and ethnicity, but abilities and disabilities, various faith communities, and socioeconomic status. Okay. So we think of prevention from, those of you who may know social work, a micro level and a macro level. So the micro level is small or individual. And this is an explanation of individual prevention programs. I'm telling you this because this is not what we aim to do following the Strategic Prevention Framework. It's a classroom-style intervention. Many, many people in my world of prevention, Christina the same, everyone will come to us and say, what about DARE? DARE is great. We love DARE. Well, DARE is great for many reasons. But in the model that we look at and our funders look at, DARE does not fit the model. It's an individual-style intervention. It's more along the lines of life skills, resilience, all important, but not looking at the next environmental, big picture, macro. So this is bang for your buck right here. When you're implementing environmental strategies, these are strategies that hit more people. They cost sometimes more to do, because that's where the media campaign comes in, trying to get a broader audience. And then you're also looking at policy. Jean and I just had a great conversation about some opioid prevention policy that is almost through Connecticut's legislature. So changing policy impacts a lot of people, especially if that policy is enforced. That has to do with access, again, policy. The party patrols, as we call them, or teen drinking patrols, depending on the community. Those are more of an environmental level. And then changing attitudes and norms, that has to do with the media campaign also, bigger picture. And we often do take that media campaign down to the individual level, like the mall outreach. That was a little bit more one-on-one while having something bigger in the background. Okay.
Next one?
Yes, please.
Oh, this one's a fun one.
That doesn't look so, oh.
No, because it
It's
comes
fancy.
in a slide. Do you want me to slide them all in at
Yes,
once?
please.
Okay.
Thank
Fancy
you.
schmancy.
So, ta-da, these are the 7 strategies for community change. There's something funny about these 7 strategies, though. There are 7 of them. However, funders and public health folks really only like the last 4. But when you think about our Drug-Free Communities grant here in town and nationally, other grantees, there's 2 goals. One is to build the capacity of a coalition over time, and 2 is to reduce substance use among youth, and sometimes, depending on what year you look at it, and adults. So looking at the top 3, those are things that do build capacity. Those are things that bring people to the table, get people interested in a coalition, get people informed so that they want to do these last 4, which create a team effort. So Christina has so kindly
Took my best shot at it.
put in all of the strategies that ETC has been working on under each category. Do you want to talk about these,
Sure.
Christina?
Yep.
Please do.
Okay. So, so of course, this is not everything that we've done, but just some of the bigger things that we've done that we can all kind of remember or relate to. So under providing information, we've done newsletters in the past. We have a Facebook page that we'll put some information on. The website, when it's working, it's up there. We have some flyers and handouts and giveaways and outreach with providing information to the community. And then building and enhancing skills. I know that it's really important to build the skills within a coalition, to train, to get everyone educated, to really get everyone on the same page. And I feel that we've done a really nice job with that, of offering up CADCA trainings. We have attended learning communities that from DEMIS. There's webinars that are available that we've promoted before. We've had activities around building logic models and sustainability. We've had other types of seminars or speakers. If somebody is in the area, we've promoted it. And I also put in the tips training of building skills of our servers at restaurants in town that we just recently did that we'll talk about later. And providing support, this is, I put none, but if anyone can think of any, this is more, I was kind of talking to Bonnie, it's kind of programmy. It's like some after-school programs, diversion programs I think are under that, and we don't really get funded to do those programs, so we haven't really done them, but that is one of the strategies. And the next one. Oh. And then enhancing access and reducing barriers. The medication drop box is enhancing access to get rid of your medications, providing a place for people to bring them, making it easy for that to happen, and then also reducing barriers. We've also been able to translate some of our materials into Spanish to help those out who Spanish is their first language in town. Okay, changing incentives and disincentives. So this is about, we've done some package store certificates when they've passed compliance checks. Also, some positive press behind package stores that have passed their compliance checks in the past, talking about who passed, maybe doing some interviews with them. Also, some stuff around the social host law. I know at the beginning of this coalition, the law just was beginning to come into effect, and so there's been some work behind that. I know that some of the members, Jean in particular, were really involved, and some of the task force members were involved in changing some of the policy, which is also down here behind the JRB and marijuana. Kids now can be referred to the JRB if they get caught with marijuana. And
Can you say what that is? Just for
oh, yep, the Juvenile Review Board, which is for juveniles. But instead of them going to court when they're arrested, they go to the JRB to then get support and services from there. So now in Enfield, which is a big step, kids that are caught with marijuana are they all go to that now, Jean, or most of them do, to the Juvenile Review Board?
Yes, they would be if they don't have kind of a longer criminal history.
They're like first offense with marijuana or second offense.
Or first or second arrest.
Right.
It could be.
Right. So now when they go to the JRB, we are able to, the Juvenile Review Board is able to then find them supports and services instead of just going to court. Okay, and doing some compliance checks as well. We have not done any altering of the physical design of the environment, which is something we can definitely look into. Also, the grant is a little limited on what you can purchase for that. So that is something that, as we look into that strategy, we'd have to look at what we are able to purchase. And of course, if there's something we wanted to do that we couldn't purchase with the grant, we can always ask for donations. We can find different sources for that. And then modifying and changing policies. So again, the medication drop box fits a little into that, the Juvenile Review Board of Marijuana. Also, we have done from the beginning of starting party patrols and compliance checks, we have changed those and tried to improve them, I would say, constantly trying to improve those, making new policy behind what the officers should be doing. Also, recently with the police, we've now started to do different types of compliance checks, which is changing kind of the policy of how we're organizing those as well. So there's a really good list of things, and definitely some areas too that we can focus on to fill some of these categories as well. Is that the last one? Oh, that one's yours.
Oh, I just stuck this in here as just sort of an overview of how CADKIT anticipates coalitions moving through these processes. You guys are definitely here. You guys are pretty sophisticated as a coalition. I work with, I think at this stage, 14 different coalitions. So this coalition is definitely on the readiness scale way up here, and from where I see you all. So you guys are sophisticated, and you're getting to, using especially those last 3 up the 7 strategies and getting to population level change, which is actually a good segue into the next segment, which Christina will present. We do measure using the school survey. That's one measure to see how change occurs, but a lot of other influences come into play when we look at a school survey. We'd love to think that any change we see in the positive is this coalition, but you never really truly know. So I will do this for you. I want me to talk about the importance first.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, so back in April, Christina and I put together a community survey using some past community surveys that have happened with ETC. And the reason we did this is, there's many reasons, but one of the reasons is we have the school survey data, that's great, but that doesn't help us measure how the community identifies or does not with this coalition. Do they know about the coalition? How do they know about the coalition? Are they maybe using some of the messages that have been out there or not, et cetera? So I believe it was Bevan Joan who did the mall outreach, and were so kind to implement these brief surveys. People were they eligible for something right at the end?
Yeah, the mall provided a gift card,
I have to call attention to Barb because she walked around getting people to take some surveys. She was very, very determined, and so we did get quite a few. They did receive, they had an opportunity to get a gift card to Macy's.
Oh,
$50
nice.
gift card.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a big
I
one.
wish I could have taken it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the kids also that filled them out got
The
immediate,
promise.
they filled out a paper that was a promise not to drink alcohol.
Oh.
So then they were given popcorn and a soda at the little stand. So there were some giveaways that
That's great.
was incentive to fill out the survey.
it's important to have, I think, a little incentive. That was a bigger incentive than I realized, so that's pretty exciting for folks.
Incentive.
So the purpose of the survey, which Christina will present the results of, was really to get sort of an assessment of where we are today with how people recognize the coalition and some of its messaging. It's important to note that this is not a representative sample, obviously, of the community. It were those people that happened to agree who were walking by that day. And it's really important that whenever possible, we continue to use this survey, because this is a quite small sample and it represents them all on that day. You know, sporting events, parenting events, even PTO meetings or other community meetings, faith-based meetings. These are really good places. If we can continue to get this survey implemented, it would be hugely helpful, because we're in year 4 here of the grant.
Coming up, yep.
And there's a reapplication process for year 5 through 10 that will occur that is competitive. And it's essential that we have a broad base of data to include in that application to demonstrate our successes, to demonstrate that we know how to measure things, and to just overall. And in our site visit with Nadine from the
Government.
the
Federal
federal government, it was very clear, as sitting there as an evaluator that day, I wanted to be able to tell her that we're doing something besides reporting on the school survey, which is our national outcome measures. I wanted to say that we had some really good other sources, and many of my communities have used a similar tool, and it has really helped them in maintaining actually direction of their coalition in some respects, and of course funding. So Christina will talk about that.
Okay. All right, so I just have some brief results for us just to think about as we move forward and as we continue to implement. And then it'll be interesting, I think, to see, you know, at different events how answers change or what happens, and then compiling them all at the end when we're all done to really give us some direction. So as Bonnie touched on, this survey was administered April 10th at the mall event. And we had 43 people fill out the survey, which is really awesome. 56% of the participants live in Enfield, and 65% have children or grandchildren or are guardians of children ages 5 to 20, which, you know, is under the drinking age, but yet old enough to kind of, you know, function, I guess. We were kind of going back and forth of what age do you put in there, but so we made it 5 to 20. Okay, so there's an example of the survey that I provided. You can follow along, or up here I've kind of summarized the questions as well. So participants were asked if they've heard of the Enfield Together Coalition and how. 38% have had heard of the coalition before taking the survey, and these are the ways that they've mostly heard about the coalition. Word of mouth, newspaper articles, and community events. Community events meaning an array of things that we've done: Family Day, the mall event, winter traditions, any type of, we did 4th of July one year, so any type of those events, and then 20% Facebook. The rest, I didn't include every answer because the rest were lower percentages, so these are the most. And then participants were asked if they have seen our message and where, so this message, so love them enough to say no message. So 54%, so over half, have seen this message. And so the biggest one was at the mall. That could be either the posters that have hung there, been there for a few years, or from the event itself. And the billboards that Tom helps us put up, so 30%, and then other locations, 17%. I don't know what the other location is. Nobody filled it in. We left it blank, but people didn't fill that in. And then the other sources are, again, the website, newspaper, community events, and on the Magic Carpet bus, the wrapping on the back of that bus. Okay, so this is interesting. Participants were asked if they have clear rules discouraging alcohol use. And so the good news is 62% of the participants do have clear rules with their children regarding alcohol use or discouraging it. And 33% are not sure, or this question was not applicable to them. Participants were asked if they thought what the safest choice is regarding underage drinking. So no one thought that it was safe to provide alcohol in a safe place. And 95% thought the safest choice was to not provide alcohol, with 5% thinking other. Again, I don't know what that other means. It could mean an array of things. But what is positive is that it looks like from this sample that people thought, it's not very safe to provide alcohol at all. Okay, so then we asked participants if they have seen this advertising or Dropbox, this message. So 21% have seen this message. Again, at the mall, 45%. The pharmacy, which is great because I know we've had members. Yep, Rob has been awesome with Costco. I know that Joan and Bev have gone out to the pharmacies, and Jean has gone out to the pharmacies. We've had other people. I had an intern in the past that went out to the pharmacies, and so that's awesome that people are seeing them there. Facebook or other places, and again, website, newspaper, the patch, police station, magic carpet, these all tied. And it'll be interesting to see as well because we just wrapped another bus, so it'd be interesting to see if more people see that message as it goes on. Okay, we're almost done. So participants were asked if they have clear rules about using prescription drugs not prescribed to them by a doctor. This is if they have clear rules for their children. 63% do have clear rules, and 27% are not sure if they have clear rules or not. And then participants were asked if they've ever returned medications to the Dropbox, and 17% said they have returned medications, but we're hoping to increase that number with the event coming up and more advertising of the box itself. I would predict that that's going to go up. Okay, so this is an interesting question. We then, finally we asked, out of these 5 substances, what do you think is the biggest problem or the most worrisome in your community? And we asked them to rank them from greatest to smallest. So the rankings were alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, prescription drugs, and e-cigarettes in that order. Some of them are pretty close, I think. Let me check because this is interesting. And again, it's 43 people. So, if we take a larger sample, these results might change a little bit. Okay, yeah, alcohol and tobacco and marijuana were all pretty close to each other. And then I think that's it. Oh, these were some qualitative results or comments that were made. So they're both very positive. Something truly, truly must be done to stop our youth from indulging and ruining their lives because of alcohol and other drugs. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's good. And then somebody is so happy this is happening. It's hope for our future generation. So if that doesn't, I think that gives us a little bit of inspiration as well. There's people out there supporting us and think that what we're doing is great and needed, and that's awesome. So is there any questions at all about anything that we presented?
I have a question for Bonnie. With the other coalitions that you work with, have any of them done something at the mall, or is this kind of the first time, or is it?
The mall was a new one for me. I don't think any of our coalitions have a legitimate mall.
I don't think so either.
Enfield is alone in that.
Okay.
Windsor Locks has done a community survey, and they got about 450 respondents doing outreach similarly that you all did for this. And it was really instrumental in a recent grant application and allowing us to focus in on the media strategy specifically. So I really commend that you all were willing to do that. I know it's an extra task, but if we could keep that up, it'll be so helpful.
Any other questions? So I think that just Bonnie and I had a brief discussion earlier, and we were getting really excited about some of the possibilities as we look at the 7 strategies for community change, some of the possibilities that we have in our community to implement some that we haven't done before, that we haven't done many of, and those 4 through 7 ones that will make us look even awesomer, if that's a word, than what we are already. So there's more to come on those as we go into the summer and start developing our action plans for next year. There's definitely some stuff to keep in mind, and we can keep in mind these and really think about what we can do to really get our hands dirtier in some of this work. So.
What is the physical, how do we alter the physical design of the environment?
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Christina, I know we just had a conversation about signage, actually. Some of the communities they work with are using signs saying this area, a known area of usage or distribution, is being patrolled. We would love to say videotaped, but drug-free communities does not allow the
No.
purchasing of police equipment. And there's some debate about signage. I say yes, Christina says no.
We have to
So-
check the grant. But that doesn't mean we can't find a way to do it, you know.
Yeah, so just signs. Lighting is an example. It's not an example. I don't know if that's allowable or not, but you know, a bright park or a bright parking lot will discourage use.
And we
It's
do
so
know
simple, right? Fencing.
we do know of a few places that the youth have identified as some problem areas, and we've upped patrols in that area with our party patrols. So some signage there, or just some no drinking on these grounds, those types of things. I know the Scantic River had some problems. That might be
See if
an
we can continue some this
Yep,
year also.
that might be an option as well. So there's definitely options that would fit into that category. Just we haven't explored them yet, but
And our downtown is getting all new lighting, as a matter of fact. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting bright lighting downtown because we have found that the police were concerned about the dim, we had some yellow lighting down there. So we're going to a bright white lighting, so that goes right in
Yeah.
line with
Yep.
that. So that should
That's
be
in
fun.
kind.
that
Right
is
there.
in kind. It's kind and in kind. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely some possibilities out there if we just explore them. Barbara, do you have a
I just
question?
wanted to remind people that on the back of your agenda are those 7 points. So if you want to give some thought to it before our planning sessions, we have them listed in front of you.
Yeah, so there's definitely more to come. It's exciting stuff, though. They can really start a big change in communities. So, as we've already started.
Great.
So,
Thanks,
thank
everybody.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll just leave that.
Yeah.
No,